Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Uspata Mansa Paribhajagacharya Stakare Smana Pilikam Saraswati Goswami Bhagavati Jaya Nanda Gori Vaishnavati Jaya Ramacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Jaya Names of the whole Sri Krishna Jaya Advaita Gadadhar Shivacharya Gaur Jaya Sri Radha Krishna Bhogavnath Sam Kanda Radha Kanda Giri Jaya Vrindavan Dham Ki Jaya Navadip Dham Ki Jaya Ganga Mai Ki Jaya Jamuna Mai Ki Jaya Guru Dwarka Dham Ki Jaya Swami Bhaktivinoda Ki Jaya All glories to the All glories to the Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my respectful obeisances. Our glorious confounder Acharya Divine Krishna Prabhupada. His Grace Ganga Prasad Prabhu, you're welcome to Hare Krishna Africa platform.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Pranam. You're welcome. Thank you for honoring the invitation.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, dear devotees, welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today is the 5th day of January, the year 2024. And we are fortunate to have our senior God brother here, His Grace Ganga Prasad Prabhu, who is going to be speaking to us from Srimad Bhagavatam. We're going to be discussing today from the second canto, chapter 7. We're discussing from text number 46 for today's class. So, Ganga Prasad Prabhu, if you are ready, I will put this verse on the screen and you can start.
You can fire on.
Great, thank you. . So over to you, Prabhu.
Om Gyantimirandasya Jnanang Jana Salakaya Chakshuro Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Radhanath Swami Ite Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gorbani Pracharine Nivishesha Sunyavadi Pashatya Desatarine Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sham Shri Rupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisubhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyaschai Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanambhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadwaita Gadada Srivasadi Sigora Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'd like to formally welcome everybody present for this session and wish you all a very happy, prosperous, and fabulous Krishna conscious New Year. And beg for your mercy that I'll be able to do this service with due diligence for my purification and for the benefit of the audience. You are welcome. We are taking our study today or reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 7, scheduled incarnations, text number 46. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Naranchaiva Narautamam Devin Saraswatim Vyasa Chatudaya Mudirayet Nasta Priya Swabrade Sudityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhagavati Nastikihi Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. The text goes like this. Devai Vidanta Atitaranticha Devamayam Sri Sudrahuna Sabarapi Papajivaha Yadya Mutta Krama Parayana Sila Sikshas Tiya Janapi Kim Usruta Dharana Ye Devai Vidanti Atitaranti Cha Devamayam Sisu Drahuna Sabarapi Papa Jiva Yadya Abduta Krama Parayana Sila Sikshas Tiriya Janapi Kimo Sruta Dharanaye Devai Vidantyati Taranti Chadeva Mayam Sistru Drahuna Sabarapi Papajivaha Yadyad Bhuta Krama Parayana Sila Siksha Tiya Janapi Kim Usruta Dharanaye. Word for word transliteration. Such persons by undoubtedly Vidanti do know Ati Taranti surpass Cha also. Deva Mayam, the covering energy of the Lord, Sri, such as women, Sudra, the liberal class of men, Una, the mountaineers, Sabara, the Siberians, or those lower than the Sudras, Api, although Papa Jivaha, sinful living beings, yeah, they provided Adbhuta, Abduta Krama, one whose acts are so wonderful. Parayana, those who are devotees. Sila, behavior. Shikshaha, trained by. Tiya Jana, even those who are not human beings. Api also came. What? Who? You to speak of. Truta, Dharanaha, those who have taken to the idea of the Lord by hearing about him. Yea, those. Translation and explanation by Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ho. Surrendered souls, even from groups leading sinful lives, such as women, the laborer class, the mountaineers, and the Siberians, or even the birds and beasts, can also know about the signs of Godhead and become liberated from the clutches of the illusory energy by surrendering unto the pure devotees of the Lord and by following in their footsteps in devotional service. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes there are inquiries as to how one can surrender unto the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 66, the Lord asks Arjuna to surrender unto him. And therefore, persons unwilling to do so question where God is and to whom they should surrender. The answer to such questions or inquiries is given herein very properly. The personality of Godhead may not be present before one's eyes, but if one is sincere in wanting such guidance, the Lord will send a bona fide person who can guide them properly back home, back to Godhead. There is no need of material qualifications for making progress in the path of spiritual realization. In the material world, when one accepts some particular type of service, it is required to possess some particular taste. One is unfit for such service. But in the devotional service of the Lord, the only qualification required is surrender. Surrendering oneself is in one's own hand. If one likes, he can surrender immediately without delay, and that begins his spiritual life. The bona fide representative of God is as good as God himself, or in other words, the loving representative of the Lord is more kind and more easy to approach. A sinful soul cannot approach the Lord directly, but such a sinful man can very easily approach a pure devotee of the Lord. And if one agrees to put himself under the guidance of such a devotee of the Lord, he can also understand the science of God and can also become like the transcendental pure devotee of the Lord, and thus get his liberation back home, back to Godhead, back home for eternal happiness. So realization of the science of Godhead and the relief from the unnecessary, useless struggle for existence are not at all difficult for the willing candidates, but they are very difficult for persons who are not surrendered souls, but only simple profile speculators. Mukankaroti wa chalam, pangam langa yate girim, yakripa twamahavande.
Is it that you are getting proficient in what you are doing?
Yakripa twamahande, Ramananda Madhava, Sri Krishna, Chaitanya Ishwara. Hare Krishna. From the preceding text,
if you cannot get the kid that will take that amount of money, that means you don't want to supply.
Can we mute the external discussions, please? In text 40 and 41, emphasis is given that no one can describe the Lord's greatness, because Krishna said in Gita, Vedaischa aham eva vendyo. I am the compiler of the Vedanta. I know the Vedas. And if I have to be known, it is only through the Vedas. And that indicates that only God himself can say what anybody can know about him. And in the next text, he said, even Ananta Shesha could not reach the limit of the Lord's glory. Since time immemorial, Ananta has been glorified, but is inexhaustible for him. But from text 42 to 46, it gives the converse side or the other side of how God can be known. And he mentioned in 42, only surrendered soul can know the Lord by the Lord's mercy, not by anybody's effort. God showed mercy to who wants to show, and it denies anybody wants to deny. So in 43 to 45, he mentioned that surrendered souls who know the Lord. He mentioned, and that's listed yesterday, class, all the great acharyas, the great souls who have done devotion in the past, they're all delineated. And today, it's giving us a concession experience that yes, nobody can know God, but great people, like we mentioned in the preceding text, like Shiva, Narad, Brahma, Sambhuvamanu, Ambarish, and on until he came to Arjuna. Many others were thus successful in attracting the Lord's mercy. So first thing is, it is the Lord's mercy. The Lord does not give the mercy, it does not come. And if you go to Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, text 10 purport, Prabhupada was mentioning the purport that one may come to spiritual organization, but he may not have the intelligence to make progress. He may not have the person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but he is still not intelligent enough to make progress. Then Krishna from within gives him instruction so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that the person always engages himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion, render all kinds of service. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activity of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain him. So this is where the God factor or the God mercy come in. And this mercy that God gives, he gives it in 3 dimensions. The first is to be able to guide the living entity. God resides in everybody as a super soul. That's why in that same 15th day, it says, Savasya Chaham, Ridi Sani Visto, Mata Smriti Jnana Punahamcha. I'm seated in everyone's heart as a super soul. And from me comes knowledge. But now knowledge can give 2 effects. Knowledge to remember and knowledge to forget. So that is his mercy. That's the first dispensation of his mercy as a super soul. He extends this mercy when we cannot be able to understand the communication of the super soul. It comes out externally. That is, internally, God is giving mercy. Externally also, he gives mercy by manifesting himself as a spiritual master or the guide, whether Diksha or Shiksha, external spiritual guide that will help us be able to understand. And then, thirdly, he comes as the scripture. These are the 3 dispensations of God's mercy. Once here, Kavichandra Maharaj was visiting and he said, one devotee, one of the congregation was asking, Maharaj, please bless us, give us your mercy. Maharaj said, what mercy do I have? Everything in Krishna consciousness is mercy of God. The holy name is mercy. Bhagavad Gita is mercy. Tulsi Maharani is mercy. The deities are mercy. So mercy is all around you. It's just about you, like he said in that incredible George. Prosperity is all over the corner. You just have to stretch your hands and pluck some. So, like we read in the Prabhupada says, surrender is in the hands. It's in the hands of the practitioner. So it can be now, but it's up to you when you want it. So the mercy of God is available. It's just when are we ready? But that mercy also comes only to those who are sincere. But in the text we are reading now, he mentioned that mercy is available even for those who are seemingly sounding less privileged, even from the groups leading sinful lives, such as women, laborers, mountaineers, Siberians, or even birds and beasts. This is an interesting area where we move beyond human beings and we go into lower species. It will create some curiosity. How does birds or beasts or animal come in here? But we can see example that Bharat Maharaj, when he left his body with attachment to the deer, he came in his next life as a deer. Even though born in millions of miles in the hills, he was able to traverse the mountains and came back to the same ashram where he left his body and where he was performing his sadhana. Although as a deer, he did not have to go and sit down among the saints to hear Bhagavatam, but he was just hanging around and was listening to the Bhagavatam discussions. That is one clear evidence that this can happen. The other one is when Mahaprabhu was going through the forest of Jarikanda. You see that even tigers, deers, everyone was attracted because it is a soul thing, it's not body thing. So we will be minimizing the mercy of God if we think it is meant for only a particular class of people. And we can see in contemporary belief system, they think that the animals don't have soul. So they are at liberty to kill them and eat. But in everything that God creates, God is present as super soul, and there's a soul inside. That's why it's living and active. If there's no soul, it cannot function. So Prabhupada opens by mentioning that in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, text 66, how to surrender is mentioned. How does one surrender? So in the purport of 66, Prabhupada mentioned that devotional service process, one should simply accept such religious principles that will lead ultimately to devotional service of the Lord. One may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in social order, but if by executing his duty, one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. So whatever we do, and it does not bring us to the platform of knowing the science of God, surrendering to devotion in devotional service to God, they are all useless. Anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided. That is part of the 6 principles of surrender. Accept what is favorable and reject what is favorable. And one should be confident that in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulty. One should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to the Lord, in full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes free from all contaminations of material nature. There are different processes of religion and purificatory process by cultivation of knowledge, meditation, and the mystic yoga system. But one who surrenders unto Krishna does not have to execute so many methods. That simple surrender unto Krishna will save one from unnecessary wasting time. One can thus make all progress at once and be free from all sinful reactions. So this is what surrender gives us. Now in the purport, it says, the personality of Godhead may not be present before our eyes, but if one is sincere. In the first canto, chapter 2, text number 2, it mentions that one is born as an ordinary human being, just ordinary, a nobody. A man is born as an ordinary being, and by the purificatory process, it becomes born for the second time. When one sees a new light, it seeks direction for spiritual progress. That is, when curiosity awakens in him, he approaches a spiritual master for instruction in the Vedas. The spiritual master accepts only sincere inquirers as his disciple. So here he's saying, it is our sincerity that really takes us in the path of progression or progress. Sincerity will come only, sincerity is what we require to be able to tread this path. So in that purpose, he said, but if one is sincere in wanting such guidance, the Lord will send a bona fide person who can guide us properly back home, back to Godhead. Okay? It is just sincerity. Then Prabhupada gave example. He said there's no need for material qualification for making progress on the path of spiritual realization. Unlike what is obtainable in the mundane circle or material environment. And he gave the example, if you have to get a service, you must have some prerequisite of qualification to be able to execute such service. But in case of devotional service, like it is said, Brahmananda Brahmeti Kona Bhagyavanji, Guru Krishna Prasade Paya, Bhakti Lata Beach. The seed of devotion is given when we encounter pure devotee. Guru Krishna Prasad is mercy of Krishna also. We have wandered through different planetary system, lifetime after lifetime, species after species. But when good fortune come our way, we encounter pure devotees of God. Like he said in the text that we are reading, that Krishna will send, he will send somebody when we are ready. And if we are able to submit ourselves and then follow his instruction, we will be able to tread the path, be like them. Just like when Jesus was mentioning that, in as many as believe, they are given power to become children of God. They can do as I'm doing, and greater work will be found of them. So we can do greater exploits if we submit ourselves sincerely to the process. So surrendering oneself is in one's own hand. And there's no need of any pre-qualification. We are taught in the course of our sanskrit study, wherever devotional service sprouts with you, take it from there. Although there may be opportunities for one to improve certain areas of value of himself, but from wherever devotional service sprouts in your life, take it from there. You will progress. You don't have to be a PhD holder. You don't have to be a secondary school holder. You don't have to be a very astute scholar to do devotional service. It's just this first thing, your sincerity to get out of this mesh of material existence and be able to submit yourself to go back home, back to Godhead. That is what you need. Progress may be slow, but it is sure to be achieved. So it mentions about the devotee of the Lord, the bona fide representatives of the Lord is as good as the Lord himself. In the discipleship course, he's speaking about Guru Tattva. Guru Tattva, Krishna is the ultimate guru. Like we said earlier, the super soul manifests externally to be able to guide us as guru. But they are one and the same in terms of mission. If you read Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text 7 in the purport, Prabhupada mentioned that in every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same. In each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by particular people under their particular circumstance. But the mission is the same. What is the mission? To lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son or servant or himself in disguised form. So the Guru and Krishna, they are one and the same. Their mission is the same. In our own perception, in our own vision, we may be seeing differences, but Guru is one because they are doing only the bidding of Krishna, not their own bidding. And if the Guru is submitted to the mission of Krishna, if you submit to the Guru, definitely you will achieve the same feat as surrendering to Krishna. And his father said, you cannot serve Krishna directly. That would be like shunting. You want to bypass. You can't do that. Krishna mentioned that those who claim to be my devotees, they are not my devotees. But those who are devotees of my devotees, they are my devotees. So he said his bona fide representative of God is as good as God himself. So if we have the sincere desire to serve God and we submit ourselves to the representative of God, obviously, as long as he's a bona fide representative, we will achieve God. A simple person cannot approach the Lord directly. But such a sinful man can very easily approach a pure devotee of the Lord. That is part of God's mercy. It's a concession given to us. And if one agrees to put himself under the guidance of such a devotee of the Lord, he can also understand the science of God. Why? Because the devotee of God or the guru, he can give you three things. The first thing, that he is committed to the mission of the Lord. He can also make you have commitments. He is very, very vast in the science of God. He will give you the same. That's why he said, Tadvidi Pranipatena, Pranipasena Seva, Upade Shante Tegiana, Janina Tatwa Dashi. He has seen the truth. He can give the truth to you. So you have to approach him. You have to render service to him. You have to inquire submissively. And so in that text, the same thing we are reading here, it says that the devotees of the Lord are very merciful. They are very merciful to their disciples. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master, and when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiry. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind towards the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiry becomes perfect. So it is our attitude, just like Prabhupada said in the Padishamrita. He said the advancement on this part is dependent on the attitude of the practitioner. So he can also understand the science of God and can also become like the transcendental pure devotee of the Lord, and thus gets his liberation back to God and back to home for eternal happiness. So if in the beginning he's saying lower entities, Queen Kunti was mentioning, and in Bhagavatam 1:4-25, he said, out of compassion, the great sage thought it wise that it will enable men to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Thus, he compiled the great historical narration called Mahabharata for women, laborers, and friends of the twice born. Compassion. So when we are asked, one was asked, how can one get the mercy of Mahaprabhu? How? What qualifies one to get the mercy of Mahaprabhu? There is mentioned Jiva Doya, compassion for all living entities. Jiva Doya, compassion for all living entities. The same compassion is what Vyasadeva is expressing here. Out of compassion, the great sage thought it wise. It will enable men to achieve the ultimate goal of life. So he compiled Mahabharata, evidence of compassion. Second one is Namruchi, taste for the holy name, attachment to the holy name. Because Krishna and Krishna's name, Krishna's from Krishna's pastime, Nam, Guna, Rupa, and Lila, they are absolute, not relative. So you can get Krishna from all of this. And so Mahabharata was compiled in the same vein. And Queen Kunti mentioned in text number 20 of chapter 8 in Kunti's prayer, when he mentioned, you yourself descend to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service unto the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How then can we women know you perfectly? So you can see that this text gives us a leadway into that pronouncement. How can we, women, and it says here, even women, labor class, which is Sudra, mountaineers, the Siberians, or even birds and beasts can also know about the science of God. There is no inhibition, there is no incapacitation. It is just, are you willing to take it? It is available. Mercy is available for everybody. And then the third one is Vaishnava Seva. Once you're able to express these three or participate in these three, Jivadoyal, Namruchi, Vaishnava Seva, you will get mercy of Mahaprabhu. Everybody. You can see in the teachings of Mahaprabhu when he was given the holy name, he didn't care who is qualified and who is not qualified. It's for everybody. So it corroborates with the text we are reading that everybody is welcome. Everybody. Even the lower species are welcome. And we can see there was a story told about a fish, and one of our Vaishnava Acharya, I think Ramanuja Acharya, going around with his disciples, and then they stopped somewhere and they were sharing. He took prasadam, and after taking prasadam, his disciples were there. He didn't give them his maha. He threw the remaining prasad into a pond of water. And then the fish came and ate that prasadam. Immediately, he expressed 400 form Vaikuntha form. And the disciples were wondering, sir, we have not seen this type before. It's a type you never seen before. That we have been traveling with you, but we have not experienced this. And he told them, yes, the fish has no complications. Very sincere, straightforward. And so the effect of the prasadam manifested. But in your own case, you are filled with duplicities. So you may not have the same experience. So even fish. Then one of our acharyas also, he kept a dog, and then the disciple did not like that he's keeping a dog. And then when the guru comes, they serve him his prasad, he will take, and he'll give remnant to the dog. And one day the guru came back, the disciples have gone, send the dog far away. And then when guru came and they served him, he said, oh, where is the dog? He said, the dog is gone far away. He said, I will not eat unless you bring the dog. Because you can see that the sincerity, the dependence of the lower species, their dedication to their master is very high. So it will be worthy of note that we learn that this mercy is meant for everybody. In the purport of that text 20, Queen Kunti, Prabhupada was explaining the purport. He is knowable only by one who has his mercy. No other prerogative is God's mercy. And he said women in general are unable to speculate like philosophers, but they are blessed by the Lord because they believe at once in the supremacy of, in the superiority and almightiness of the Lord. And thus they offer obeisances without reservation. That's what we're referring in that story of Ramanuja Acharya. When we have reservations, that is duplicity, and then insincerity to a very high extent, we will not be able to surrender just easily. Okay? But the women, they don't question and propose and thus they offer obeisance without reservation. The Lord is so kind that he does not show special favor only to one who is a great philosopher, a philosopher. He knows the sincerity of purpose. That's the point. For this reason only, women generally assemble in great number in any sort of religious function. Whether it's in church or anywhere, women are more. Maybe it's only in the Hare Krishna temple we don't find plenty of women. But in the churches, women flood everywhere. In the mosques, women flood. Because for them, it is not about philosophy. Look at the gopis. Look at the wives of the Brahmanas. When Krishna and Balaram sent their cowherd boys, friends, to go and get food for them, the Brahmanas refused to give food. We have not offered, we have not done Nama, Om, and all these Sri Vishnu, and so we cannot give you until we finish our rituals. So they went back to Krishna and Balaram go to their wives. When they went to the wives without any ado, not only did they send the food, they came themselves with the boys to Krishna. So you can see that Prabhupada, the scripture, they are not conflicting. They are just giving it as it is. Anybody is worthy of God's mercy. It's not only for particular people, but it is sincerity. Look at what it says here. Sincerity of purpose. Once you know the essence, then you can easily act. And the result will be achieved. This simplicity of acceptance of the Lord's authority is more effective than the showing insincere religious fervor. We do so many hype, create so many facade, but in the end, it amounts to nothing. But does this simplicity of accepting, acknowledging the Lord's authority is more effective. So when the purport open and Prabhupada is saying, sometimes there are inquiries as to how one can surrender. That is on intellectual platform, asking questions. The women immediately they surrender. The lower species also immediately they surrender if they have the opportunity or encounter pure devotees who carry sufficient compassion of God. They will submit themselves. So that is what is required. Although God is not easily knowable except by those who have become very astute devotees, he gives them his mercy. But even those who are lower, they still get the mercy because God is God for all. God is not God of gender. God is not God of species. God is the Lord of the whole universe and his creature. So, realization of the science of God or Godhead and relief from unnecessary, useless struggle for existence are not at all difficult for the willing candidates. Like Prabhupada said that it's simple for those who are simple at heart and complicated for those who have complexities. Simple. To realize God is very simple. Just submit yourself to his bona fide representative, inquire from him how to make advancement, follow his instructions under the guidance of such devotee of the Lord. He can also understand the science of God and also become like the transcendental pure devotees of the Lord and thus get his liberation back to God, back home for eternal happiness. So it is easy. Unnecessary struggle is not required. Useless struggle for existence are not at all difficult for willing candidates. So you have to be willing. But they are very difficult for persons who are not surrendered souls, but only simple, profitless speculators. They are not going to get anything, but they're also doing religious practices, making show of religion. So in the end, what will they get? Nothing. So Vishwanath Chakrabarti, in his Sarata Dashini, had mentioned contributing to this text. He said, not only those great persons, that's his purport to this very text, but even lower persons have realized his power. Even they learn about the qualities of those devotees who have surrendered to the Supreme Lord. They learn about the qualities, and that's why he said, following the footsteps of previous acharyas. They learn. If they learn about the qualities of those devotees who have surrendered to the Supreme Lord, who take great steps, if they learn about devotees who do not discriminate between high and low, they also know the power of the Lord. even if they are swans, elephants, parrots, or cranes, Tiriak Jan, what then to speak of how quickly humans who hear the name and form of the Lord from the mouth of a guru can know the Lord. See how he put it? Very nicely presented. So it is a clarion call for the human beings. Just like he said, to he whom much is given, much is expected. So it's a wake-up call for us that even lower species, they can be benefited through this process. What to speak of human beings? What to speak of how quickly humans means we can even make faster progress if we just surrender. That's what the chapter opens, surrender. And he quotes Bhagavad Gita 1866, Sabadama, Paritraja, Mamekam, Saranam Vraj. Ahamtam Saba Papa Ebio, Mokshamisha, Imasucha. In that very Papa was mentioning that even your upkeep, your bodily needs, your maintenance, and all of this, they are taken care of. So sometimes we are too preoccupied with our self-interest that we start doing the work of God. We start playing God's role. Krishna said here, I will deliver you from reactions. In case you neglect certain essential services and there is a reaction from Krishna, said, I will deliver you. And Krishna also promised that for those devotees in 1822 or 922, where he mentioned that for those who worship me with exclusive devotion, but those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them, I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. That's an assurance. It's an assurance. No assurance is greater than that. So if we now leave the role we have to play in devotion and service of God, and we get swayed by our maintenance, our upkeep, and our welfare, that is like doing other people's job, like he said in Bhagavad Gita. It is better to do your own duty, even with error, than to do another person's perfectly. We cannot play God. We cannot play the role of God. We cannot only play our own role. Krishna in 1860 did not tell Arjuna to become him. He told him just surrender. And so Prabhupada was one asked, when exactly can one surrender? Now. Now. So all of us who are present, we can increase our surrender if we already surrendered, and we can surrender now if we are still contemplating to surrender. Now is the time, because nobody knows what is going to happen in the next minute. If you have had it and you are convinced about it and it resonates in your consciousness, now is the time to surrender. And surrender is not duplicious. It's very easy. Just take shelter of a bona fide representative of God. Inquire from him submissively. Render service unto him. That is padasraya. Take shelter. So our process is a process of taking shelter. Padasraya. You can take shelter of Krishna, but you cannot take full shelter of Krishna on your own. Somebody have to introduce you. That's why Rupa Goswami said in the 9 stages of devotional service, Ado Srada, Tata Sadhu Sanguta, Bhajana Kriya. In the beginning, there must be the preliminary desire for self-realization. That preliminary desire is like automated. It will move you towards Sadhu Sangha. And what did he say in Chaitanya Charitamrita? Sadhu Sangha, Savasasra Hoy. Nava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Savasiddhi Hoy. Association of devotees is glorified in all the scriptures, even in the text we are reading now. because in the association of devotees, the seed of perfection is planted. So when our Strada, although Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti expands that, instead of 9, Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti say it is 14. He makes it 14 stages. That the first stage, Strada even does not come of his own. Strada comes by the mercy of a devotee of God. Strada is out of the mercy of the devotee of God. So it doesn't come on his own. We cannot experience it on our own. So Rupa Goswami says 9 stages, and it is from, he explains it in second canto of Bhagavatam from chapter 2, text 16. Sususu Sadadana Asya Srada. Starts with Srada. But Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says, it starts from Satan Kripa. It is Satan Kripa or costless mercy of the devotee that arouse the faith. Just like we see in the case of Narad Muni and the Mahabhagavats. Narad Muni did not have any clue about what devotional is, but he took advantage of the opportunity. He served the Mahabhagavat. He took permission to take their prasad. He served. He got their mercy. It's their mercy that aroused the faith. So yes, Rupa Goswami said faith, but faith does not come of his own. And you can see in regular saying, faith coming by hearing. Who do you hear? Hearing the word of God. And who speaks the word of God? Nasta Priya Swabradesu, Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya. By regular attendance to the class of Srimad Bhagavatam and serving the Mahabhagavats, the living scripture, all that is complicated in the heart is destroyed, and devotional service takes place in the heart as an irrevocable fact. So there is no conflict in it. It's a procedural expansion. Yes, faith is required. But he says, yes, Satan Kripa, costless mercy of the devotee, and Mahat Seva, service to the devotees, which is what we mentioned now in the Nasa Priya Swabradesu. Then Srada, this is number 3 in Rupa and Vishwanath Chakrabarti's postulation. But Rupa Goswami compressed it. He just started with faith. And then faith will take you to Sadhu Sangha. Then when you get to Sadhu Sangha, there will be bhajan and kriyas. You write, you learn, you are introduced to rites and rituals and procedures. And when you are very diligently executing that, then there will be bhajan and kriyas, which will produce anatta nivriti, born again. All things will pass away. Everything will become new. And when we have sufficiently become renewed, then we will become steady, nista, steady, and we develop taste, ruchi. Then ashaktis, empowered and ready. And then rati and bhava will come, and prema. So Rupa Goswami mentioned 9, and Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti mentioned 14. But in all, they amount to the same thing. Like what we read here. Taking shelter. The bona fide representative of God is as good as God himself. In other words, the loving representative of the Lord is more kind and more easy to approach. A sinful man cannot approach the Lord directly, but such a sinful man can very easily approach a pure devotee of the Lord. And if one agrees to put himself under the guidance of such a devotee of the Lord, he can also understand the science of God. So the ball is in our court. Bulk is in our court. As you make your bed, so you lie on it. And can also become like the transcendental pure devotee of the Lord, and thus get his liberation back to Godhead back home for eternal happiness. This is the purpose of God. This is the mission of all the representatives of God. Get us back home, back to God. So when we take shelter of Guru, because he has knowledge of the science of God, he will give it to us. Because Guru is committed in devotional service to God, he will also give us commitment. And in the end, if we pass the test, like he said, one must pass the test of the spiritual master. He will take us back home, back to Godhead. So when Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Devi hiye saguna mai mama maya duratya ya, this material energy of my external energy of mine, very difficult to overcome. But he gave the therapy. But those who surrender unto me, mameva ye propadiante, maya etam tarantite, they will cross over it easily. So that is the surrender, to cross over easily. And the process of the surrender is what is mentioned here. That take shelter of a bona fide representative and then execute the process. The bhajan, the kriyas. Then there will be anata nivriti, there will be nista, you'll be fixed, there will be ruchi, there's shakti, there will be bhava and prema. So we should keep faith alive, keep hope alive, keep faith alive, because victory is certain. A luta continua. Victory is certain. Victory is sure, guaranteed. But like Prabhupada said, our attitude is what determines our pace of progress. Mercy abounds, but we have to stretch our hands and take advantage. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for participating in this forum. And in case there are contributions to expand the discussion, is welcome. And if there are comments, also welcome. If there's questions, also welcome. If there's chastisement, most welcome. Hare Krishna.
Haribo. Thank you so much, very much, Grace Kanga Prasad, for this beautiful class. It is good to hear the essence of bhakti from one who is practicing bhakti. And that is the essence of what you're saying in the whole of the lecture. Bhakti can only be given by somebody who knows bhakti, who practices bhakti, who eats bhakti. Your exemplary life, it is testimony that you're not speaking something from the head, you're speaking from the heart, because you yourself have experienced it. Thank you very much for the beautiful class. So dear devotees, if anyone has a question or comment, and please kindly indicate by raising your hand or by using the hand emoji, or physically raise your hand if your video is on. We'll call you to speak. In the chat room, there is a comment. Surrender is defined as resistance to an enemy or opponent and submit to their authorities, give up or hand over the person right or possession, typically on compulsion or demand. That is dictionary definition of surrender. Then it goes further to say, so why are we asked to surrender to Krishna when we are not at war with Krishna? We do not have enmity against Krishna. He is not an opponent, neither is he forcing us to submit to him. Hare Krishna. That's a question from Professor Sahadev.
Oh, wonderful. Only an emeritus can ask questions like this. Very nice question and nice contribution. Answer is also very direct and straight. If we are not opponents of Krishna, we will not have material body and will not be in the material world. We are Krishna's opponent. We want to enjoy like Krishna. We want to usurp the position of Krishna. And so, look at the sequence. We are servants of Krishna eternally. We are with Krishna. And then we just develop the cocky thought. I also want to enjoy like Krishna. Why is everything offered to Krishna? And what happens? We just get flushed in the WC and we enter the sockaway pit. Sockaway pit is the material world. So we are opponents. We have enmity. We are envious. The envy of Krishna is why we are here in the material world. And in the Mahabharata, it is mentioned during the war that when the Guru, Dronacharya, released the Narayanastra, he released the Narayanastra, and that Astra will destroy anything standing. Whether it's the first man standing or the last man standing, anything standing, Narayanastra will destroy it. And because Krishna was present and Krishna knows the weight and consequence of the Astra, he told the Pandavas, the therapy for this Astra is just bend, and it will pass over you. But Bhishma was naggy, heady, and he didn't want to bend. And Krishna just laughed at him and said, you guys, help your brother, just somehow or the other make him bend. So they quacked Bhishma, they quacked him. So his standing position was altered when he was quacked. And then the Astra passed over him, he survived. In the same Mahabharata also, in the teaching of Bhishma Dev said, when you are fighting an opponent who can destroy you, he said, you don't have anything to do then. Don't change your stand, maintain your stand, but you have to bow your head so you can survive. So the surrender is not in Krishna's interest. It's in our own interest. Once we surrender, it is we who is going to benefit. Krishna only achieves his purpose of getting us back, but we are the one who benefit because we will get out of this sockaway pit. So yes, Krishna is not an opponent, yes, because he's Surid. It is supreme well-wisher of all living entity. But how many of us knows that Krishna wishes us well? If we knew that Krishna wishes us well, we would have maintained the status quo that our own enjoyment is not in enjoying like Krishna, but in enjoying that Krishna is enjoying. That was why I used the word. We don't have to play the role of God. We have our own role. Everybody is just like he said in division of labor in economics. Division of labor makes for specialization and increases productivity. So when there's no specialization, there will be topsy-turvy and there will be collisions. So Prabhu, nobody is forcing us to surrender. If you surrender and if you don't surrender, it's up to you. It's in the Papa Prabhupada said it's in the hands. It's in your hands to surrender. So if you don't want, no philosophy, nothing can compel you to. But you also steal your juice with your experience. Hare Krishna. I don't know if that answers the question. And above all, I wish you speedy recovery.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Ganga. Actually, it is interesting because I was just responding to something on the social media. Somebody posted and said the badge or the mantra or the slogan for this year 2024 is anyone. We don't agree.
I didn't hear your last statement.
Okay, it says that
the slogan
is that we don't want. Somebody posted something on the social media and it was saying that we do not agree. That is the mantra. That is the slogan for 2024. Don't agree with anybody.
Yes.
Do not agree. Am I breaking?
No, you are breaking, but I had the whole statements now.
That do not agree is the major slogan in 2024. Don't agree with anybody. Okay. So I was hearing and I was responding. I said, well, it is all right if you don't want to agree with anybody, but at least first by agreeing with yourself. because the greatest challenge in the 21st century is that man is not agreeing with himself. So therefore, the biggest threat to the human society today is mental health challenge.
Your line is breaking. Your line is breaking. Maybe it's my network or something.
Maybe it is my network is being crazy in the recent times. I don't know.
All right.
Krishna.
Yeah, thank you for the contribution. Yes, yes.
Yeah. So maybe I should rephrase what I was saying.
Go ahead. I think I heard you clearly, and also everybody must have heard you.
Okay, that's fantastic. So anyway, so thank you very much for the answer to PRABHU's question. So actually, we are at war with ourselves, not with Krishna. So we have to surrender.
Yeah, and above that, Krishna has a game plan. Krishna has a game plan. He wants to operate. Krishna has an operation, and he cannot operate if we don't prostrate. So our cooperation with Krishna is that we prostrate. Then Krishna will operate. If Krishna promised in 922, for them, what they have, I'll preserve, and what they lack, I will bring. How can Krishna execute that if you don't surrender? In exclusivity. So it's a game plan, it's a whole plot. And you have to play your own role of serving Krishna exclusively in surrender. And now Krishna will now ice the cake. So yes, it is we who have the battle with ourselves. Krishna have no issue. And that is why he said, man is the architect of his own fortune or misfortune. If you surrender, you become fortunate. If you don't, it's your misfortune.
Thank you. In the purport of today's test, Prabhupada said something and you elaborated on that point. Prabhupada was saying that surrendering oneself is in one's own hand. If one likes, he can surrender immediately without delay, and that begins his spiritual life. So the question is, surrender is in one's hand. I hope you can hear me, Prabhu.
Yes, clear.
Okay, good. So if surrender is in one's hands, and Krishna has promised that if one surrenders, he will provide for what one likes and preserve what one has already. So how long does it take to do this surrender? Because practically, sometimes we see that someone has taken to the path of spiritual life. And for several years, he's still in a very suffering situation externally, at least from a conditioned experience. So how do we explain this?
Good. In the text, the text before, it says, it is Krishna's mercy. He gives it when he wants, not when you want. Okay? I have carefully followed the story of Vipra Sudama. Vipra Sudama, although it may not be a bona fide narration, but in Satanaram Puja, Vipra Sudama was a begging Brahmana in that past time. And when he got to know, he begged that just let me enjoy but a drop of the riches of this world. So he recommends he do Satyanarayana Puja. So when he finished begging his arm on full moon day on Sakranti, he performed Satyanarayana Puja. He got some wealth. And in his next life, he was born as Vipra Sudama. In his life as Vipra Sudama, he was still like impoverished. He was impoverished. He cannot even afford to take care of his family. But in Krishna's own time, even when the wife prevailed on him, persuaded him, and he went to Dwarka to see Krishna, he was happy to see Krishna. He did not make any request of Krishna. And when he left Krishna and got home, Krishna's mercy unfolded. And what did Vipra Sudama say? Did he say, I will not take it? he said, I will accept this as PRASAD. So it's dependent on Krishna, not on you. Krishna will give when he wants. So we cannot measure the time frame for Krishna's mercy to manifest. Why? We have a lot of backlog of karmic experience that we'll go through. So to the degree that we become purified of these backlogs, then Krishna's mercy will come forth. That is why you see that when Mahaprabhu was saying in the Ekshiksha Sakam, Aslisya Padara Tampinas to Mam, Adasana Mama Hatan Karutuva, Yata Tatava Vidyata Lampato, Ma Pranam, Natasusa Evana Param. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he will remain so. Even if he handles me roughly in his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present, he's free to do anything and everything, and he remains my worshipful Lord unconditionally. So it depends on Krishna. I don't know if that gives insight into the question.
Thank you so much. You know, there can never be dull moment in Krishna consciousness. There's always an answer. That is the only beauty of Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much for the answer. I saw Suman Vara Prabhu's hand up. Did you put down the hand of that for you? Sometimes it does happen like that.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Dandava Pranam Prabhuji.
My obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru Gauranga. Thank you very much. I enjoy your wonderful presentation. I just want to make a contribution to Sahadev Prabhu's question, which made me laugh very heartily when I heard that question. When I had this question, I couldn't stop laughing very heartily. Yeah. So I think you've already answered us very nicely. Just one thing to add, because the question is whether we are at war with Krishna. Yes, and actually we can say yes to that question, because when we're in this world, we're in the enemy's camp. As long as we are in the material world, we're in the enemy's camp. So in order to declare our loyalty to Krishna, we have to surrender to Krishna to show that we are no longer loyal to Maya. To material energy. So that is the point. The war is there. Actually, before I became full-time devotee, I was really deciding whether to or not, because so many things are there materially to enjoy. Then I had this dream. I had this dream. I saw Prabhupada in a war, big war, and it was fighting this, let's say, demon who is tall from the heart to the sky. You cannot see the beginning and the end of this demon. He was on the side, and Prabhupada was on this side. And it looks like, the fight was going on for a long time. And then Prabhupada was winning. And I was watching, who is going to win. And Prabhupada was winning, and then Prabhupada called me from where I was standing on the fence looking. Prabhupada said, "Come, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Come, we're winning." I was like on the fence watching this war, who is going to win. So actually, it is true that we have to surrender. If you're not surrendering, you are either sitting on the fence or you are fully under Maya's camp, the enemy's camp. So that statement to surrender, it's very appropriate. There is a war going on, and that war is, you are either on the Maya's camp or you're going to be in devotees Krishna's camp. And the last point, I think Srila Prabhupada also said something like that. Surrendering to Krishna means declaring war against Maya. So in whichever way, it still means that the war is going on and you have to decide where you belong. You cannot sit on the fence. Yes, thank you. Just my small contribution. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for that very appropriate. And in Srila Krishna Prabhup's words, he said there is no, like you said, it can be in defense. There's no defense. It's either you swim or you sink. It's only two-sided. If you don't get liberated, you get more drowned in the material world. Thank you very much, Prabhu. That is very laudable. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Shriman Varacharya Prabhu for this contribution. A nice contribution.
You are not very audible, Salika Prabhu.
Yeah, I don't know why my network is messing up. Okay.
No.
Oh my Krishna.
Okay, now it's better.
Yeah, I think it's technology that. So if there are any other questions or comments from devotees, questions, comments, contributions.
And chastisement also.
Okay, it appears that devotees are very satisfied with the class. Okay, Anusam, ISKCON Ghana, that is, I think she on mute. Let's hear your question. Chaitanya Prama Prabhu, please on mute.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams.
There is a lot of noise behind you.
I'm in a very noisy environment, but we manage it. I actually wanted you to use this opportunity to define what surrender means, what surrender actually means. And you can use the opportunity to analyze the 6 components of surrender. As in Anuphylacia, Sankalpa, particularly. So I just want you to do that favor to us, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. I prowled into it in the course of the lecture. Maybe it wasn't as exhaustive as you may anticipate. In the purport of that chapter 18 to 66, Prabhupada mentioned it also. Okay? He said, according to devotional process, one should simply accept such religious principles that will lead ultimately to devotional service. One may perform a particular Christian duty to his position in a social order, but if the executing the duty one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. Anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage, Krishna consciousness, should be avoided. And so the 6 principles of surrender, the first one is accept anukulasya sankalpa, accepting whatever is favorable in the service of Krishna, of which submitting oneself is one. Tadvidi, pranipatena, pranipasena sevaya. So, and rejecting whatever is not favorable. Okay? And further Prabhupada said in that purport, the purport, I think, about the third paragraph down. One should be confident that in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. That's number 3. And one should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. As soon as one is seriously engaged in devotional service to the Lord in full consciousness, at once he becomes free from all contamination of material nature. There are different processes of religious and purificatory process by cultivation of knowledge, meditation, and etc. But one who surrenders unto Krishna does not have to execute so many methods. This simple surrender unto Krishna will save him from unnecessary wasting of time. One can thus make all progress at once and be freed from all reaction. So we consider ourselves very lowly and we submit completely to Krishna. These are the 6 aspects. Accept what is favorable, reject whatever is unfavorable, Be confident that in all circumstances, it doesn't matter what, Krishna will save me. And then think oneself helpless, you know, oneself helpless and completely depend on Krishna. And the other one is consider that we cannot get anything on our own. And lastly, completely saranagati, completely surrender to Krishna. That is the 6 angas of surrender, 6 names of saranagati. So if we accept what is favorable, that is in our interest. If we don't reject what is unfavorable, it is detrimental for us. And if we are doubtful that Krishna may or may not protect us, that is not helpful to us. In all circumstances, the confession of faith, in all circumstances, Krishna will protect me. And think oneself helpless and consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. Only basis. It's not by your power, it's not by your might, it's just that Krishna is the only fact. That's why in that 529, it says Suridam is the supreme well-wisher of all living entities. Then you surrender completely to it. I don't know if you can add something as the Bhaktivedanta, it will help us also.
Prabhu, that is okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Anandini Danan Prabhu, please kindly unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Danda pronounce.
Hari Hari, long time, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu.
Nice
Yes,
to be your audience.
by your mercy, I'm hanging around. Hare Krishna.
It's
Yes.
Krishna's mercy. I don't have mercy, I have medicine.
Well, thank you. So, Prabhu, my concern concerning when Krishna and Balaram send the Gopas to the Brahmanas, they refuse to give food to the Gopas just because of they have not offered the food. But when they went to the Gopis, they've
The
given
wives
it
of
out.
the Brahmanas.
Yes. So my question is, when it's come to direct service to the Lord, does that mean that scripture injunctions are not supposed to be our concern again? That's what I wanted to know.
Thank you very much. Very intelligent question. The whole thing we are doing in devotional service come to the point of bhava and prema, love for Krishna. And you can see that in the pastime of Krishna and the cowherd boys. When they are having their lunch in the pastures, everybody comes with his lunch box. For you and I, before prasada will be ready, you go to the altar and ring bell, light incense, Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prasad, Namo Mahabadanya, Krishna Prima, Namo Brahmana Devaya, then Gayatri Mantra, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and Hare Krishna. But the cowherd boyfriends of Krishna, because of the mood of bhava and prem, they will take food from their lunch box, bite it, and ask Krishna, you can also test this. So where is mantra? Where is offering? Where is the offering is direct? Because it's done out of pure love. So, but we don't have to imitate this if we have not come to that platform. But when Krishna was saying in 1866, yes, give up all this procedure and just surrender to him directly. That is the answer. You have already answered the question yourself, or maybe you need a little buttressing. So yes, when we come to very high level, we are not any longer bound with rules and regulations. It becomes spontaneous. Spontaneity. It happens automatically. But when we have not arrived at the stage of spontaneity, then we have to follow sadhana bhakti. Does that give you any insight or give insight to your question?
Yes, yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Anandini Dhanam Prabhu, for the question. Thank you very much, His Grace Ganga Prasad Prabhu, for the answer. So, there are any other questions or comments from devotees? We've been here for 1 hour, 30 minutes, 90 full minutes. So, if there are no other questions or comments, okay, Arishakra Prabhu, please kindly unmute.
Hare Krishna, Dhanavad Pranam. All glory to you, Ganga Prasad Prabhu. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Guru Maharaj, and all glory to Prabhupada. I want a little bit clarification about the question Anandini Dhanam Prabhu asked. The Brahmanes that Krishna asked the Gopals to go and get some food from them. Did they tell the Gopals that they have not offered the food, or they told them that they are busy performing yajna? That is what I want a clarification, because based on the question Anandini Dhanam Prabhu asked, it looks as if the Brahmanes had the food on the altar trying to offer, and they say it's not offered. It's not offered. That's why they will not give to them. And so his question was, do we have to forego, what do we call it, the scriptural injunction of not offering the food first? But I want to get proper clarification. Was it the reason why the Brahmanes said that they are not able, or the Brahmanes were fully absorbed in performing yagya before? That's why they asked them to leave. They don't have time for anything. They are busy performing yagya.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. We can take from our own personal experience. When there is fire sacrifice going on in the temple and there are fruits that are offered around the fire sacrifice, do people take the fruits before the end of the yagya or after the yagya? It's a question.
After the yagya, yeah.
Yeah, so after the yagya means when the yagya is over, every offering is over, then they can take prasad, but they have not concluded. So, but these brahmanas are called smarta. They are tied to the rules and regulations. So in Upadeshamrita, it said following the rules and regulations for the sake of following and not for making advancement, and neglecting the rules and regulations, acting whimsically. So we have to follow the rules and regulations for the purpose of making advancement. The purpose of all yagya is to please Krishna. And Krishna has come to ask for some requests. And because we are tied to the rules and regulations, we did not please Krishna. So I don't know if that gives clarification to it. But the wives of the Brahmanas, they came. They didn't wait for their husband. They took whatever was there and they sent it with themselves and the boys to Krishna. So that is sadhana bhakti and raganuga bhakti. Spontaneous devotion is what the women have. But the husbands are attached to sadhana, rules and regulations, and then they did not consider that if they give to Krishna, they will make advancements. Does that shed light on your question, Prabhu?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ganga Prasad Prabhu, for that clarification. Thank you very much for your question, Shri Aris Chakra Prabhu. So if there's another question or comment from any devotee, please And if there is no question, no comment, further question or comment, we want to thank our speaker today, His Grace GANGA PRASAD PRABHU, for bringing justice to this test. So we request all of the devotees to please kindly unmute. Let us loudly chant a powerful Hare Krishna mantra to appreciate our speaker for today.
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram,
Rama
Rama
Rama.
Rama, Hare
Panchakapatarubhyascha Kipasindhi Vacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo
Patitanam
Nabhyo
Vaishnavibhyo,
Namo
Vaishnavibhyo Namo.
Namaha Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinde Ki
His Grace GANGA PRASAD
Prabhupada
PRABHU
Ki
ki.
Prabhupada Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinde Ki Jai.